Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and today I want to talk to you about one of the indicators that I use the most and cite pretty often on this channel, and that would be the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. And so the RSI down here is supposed to give you an idea of overbought and oversold conditions. Traditionally speaking, the overbought usually is above 70, oversold is about 30 or so, or under 30. And the way you can access this is if you go to TradingView, all you have to do is go up to indicators, go to technicals, and then you go down to RSI, which should be under the R's. I have it starred here. You can star it, and then it will pop up right below your chart. Now, when it comes to RSI, it can be used in a number of ways. It can be used both at a short time frame. It can also be used at a long time frame. So if we take a look at just the daily, which is what I have up right now, one thing I've been saying a lot about Bitcoin and crypto in general right now is it seems to be pretty overbought. You can see the RSI right now is at about 72, and I will often draw a trend line, a resistance line here that kind of goes over all the tops of the above 72. So I'll go and I'll draw this all the way over. And if you look at this, you compare it to the previous price action we have here, we can see that it barely spends any time at all above these levels, all right? So what that means is that if this resistance level continues the way it has in the past, that you're going to see a pullback within the next couple of days. And that's what I'm expecting for, in this case, Ethereum. But I've also looked at Bitcoin, and I've said the same thing about Bitcoin as well. So I really like to use the resistance levels here for your RSI. It can also be used as support as well. So if you want to bring it back down, you can use them as support, in this case 27 or so. And you can see that it barely spends any time below this range. As soon as it goes down and below this range, you have a couple of days to catch in this range, and then it shoots back up again in most cases. Now, when it comes to RSI, no indicator is perfect, right? There's always limitations for every single indicator, and you should not rely on just one indicator. You should use a whole host of indicators and candlesticks as well to try to determine which direction the market might be going. So I also like to use, we zoom out, we take a look at the long-term picture, actually, and I've mentioned this a few times again, but it's worth putting out that the RSI can be used at a long-term, a long time horizon, a long time frame. This is a weekly right now, and what we can see here is that the weekly pretty accurately captures most of the peaks from the bull markets, and we can see here that if you would have followed this and you were paying attention to the RSI on the weekly, you could have caught the tops here and then sold. Now that's for like 21. We take a look at November. That one just barely came up to here about 70 or so, and then came back down. But like I said, it's not 100%. It's not 100% for sure that it's going to happen that way. But it does seem more often than not like this is going to happen. Okay, we zoom out and take a look at the monthly. The monthly time frame gives you an even better example of how RSI can be used at a long time horizon. And the advantage of using it on a long time horizon versus a short time horizon is it gets rid of a lot of the noise and static from whale buys. So you can see here that if you put an RSI a resistance point here at about 82 or so on the monthly, you could have potentially sold when you hit 82 here, and then you can see it kind of rally just a little bit. Normally it doesn't spend much time here. Or you could have sold here at August or November, and you can kind of see that it was a predictor to the top there in November, because it came up and it could not go past this point here, and that's about 82 or so. It couldn't, and it lost all its momentum, and then it took a nosedive at this point. And this is Ethereum. So you can use RSI in a number of ways to kind of give you a good example or a good idea of which direction that the market is heading. So I have Bitcoin up here as well. This is the monthly, and I've already pointed this out. But again, if you took a trend line and you drew it across all the peaks here, you can see that corresponds pretty nicely with the actual peaks in reality that we had here. And then you could, potentially speaking, you could sell the peaks and then not have to worry about the all the downside. Now, consequently, if we take a look at support for Bitcoin, if you take a look at Bitcoin, the monthly, and you look at support for the RSI, you'll also notice that Bitcoin has never been more oversold than it is right now, because it's at about 43 on the monthly. We zoom in a little bit, we can see here that it's just barely off that level at about 42, 41. Pushed up a little bit, so it's like right there on the lowest level of RSI. And so I think what that means is that we could potentially have more downside, like I've been saying here. Just because it's at 43 doesn't necessarily mean it's oversold or it's done selling. It could definitely come back down here even further than that. Just because we haven't seen, in this case, we haven't seen Bitcoin go below this level before, doesn't mean it can't keep going down. So that's kind of also a limitation of RSI, is if you take a look at the RSI, again, back here to the weekly, just because something's oversold, like it was back here in July. Let me actually go into the daily. So we go back to June during that big crash. Just because something's oversold and it's saying it's oversold, like back here in May, and you see that and it's 25, and you think, okay, well, this is definitely the bottom, right? It's not exactly the bottom, because you came down here and it slipped below that level, and then it kept falling after that. There's a big dump that happened after that point. So just because it's at, say, 25, isn't a guarantee that it's done selling, especially if you're in a bear market and you're in a downslide. So it did actually come down here to about 20 or so. But after that point, then that was the bottom, and at least the local bottom, and then it rallied strongly for the rest of the year. So this is just one thing that I use. I like RSI because it also gives you additional information. You can look at volume, you can look at the candlesticks, but you can also use RSI as well to give you an idea of the momentum and whether an asset is overbought or oversold. And this works for stocks as well, not just cryptocurrency. So you can use RSI on just about any tradable asset. So I definitely recommend that you guys go ahead and take a look at it. This is definitely one of my favorite indicators as well. And like I said, it's not always 100% accurate, but it is accurate most of the time. And that's the goal, to be accurate most of the time. No indicator is going to be accurate every single time. Okay? All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. If you like this content, like, subscribe, and also go ahead and follow me on Twitter for the most up-to-date information. This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and I hope to see you in the next video.